Sensitization webinar hosted by the Caribbean Export Development Agency. We're delighted to have you with us this morning as we introduce the Building Resilient Innovation for Digital and Green Enterprises grant facility, one of the newest initiatives being implemented under the EU-funded Regional Private Sector Development Program 3. The Bridge program forms part of Caribbean Export's broader mission to enhance the competitiveness and resilience of firms across the CARIFORUM region and Cuba. It is designed to help businesses modernize, innovate, and transition towards a more sustainable and digitally driven models of growth. Through Bridge, firms can access financial and technical support to adopt new technologies, improve operational efficiency, and integrate greener, more sustainable practices into their business operations. The program focuses on two key areas that are transforming global business today: digital transformation and green innovation. Together, these grant streams aim to help Caribbean enterprises become more efficient, environmentally responsible, and better positioned to seize new opportunities for trade, investment, and expansion. This morning's session is intended to give you a clear understanding of objectives, structure, and purpose of the Bridge program, and how it aligns with the wider EU-Caribbean partnership. You'll also learn more about the two grant components, the application process, and the key steps to participate in this exciting opportunity. My name is Tanya Cummins, Investment Promotion Officer at Caribbean Export. I'll be guiding you through general information on the Bridge program, including eligibility criteria, documentation requirements, and next steps in the application process. I'm pleased to be joined by two of my colleagues who will share more detailed insights on the grant components. Mrs. Natasha Edwin Walcott, Lead Export Development Promotion, who will speak to eligible projects under the Green Transition Grant, and Mr. Jonathan Sicharam, Innovation and Digital Business Officer, who will present on the Digital Transformation Grant. During the presentations, please feel free to post your questions in the chat at any time. Our team will respond to as many as possible during the session, and we'll also share the updated FAQs in the chat. If your question isn't addressed during the webinar or within the FAQs, you can email us at grants@carib-export.com. Once again, thank you for joining us. We are confident that today's session will give you a clearer understanding of how Bridge program can support your business on its journey towards digitalization, sustainability, and long-term resilience. Before we delve into the details of Bridge, let's begin with a quick overview of who we are at Caribbean Export. Caribbean Export is a regional trade and investment promotion agency serving the 15 CARIFORUM member states, including both CARICOM countries and the Dominican Republic. Our mission is to drive the economic transformation of the Caribbean by strengthening businesses, boosting exports, and attracting both local and foreign investment. We work closely with small and medium enterprises, the backbone of our regional economies, helping them to grow, innovate, and compete globally. But our work does go beyond export promotion. It's about building resilience, ensuring that firms are equipped to withstand shocks, embrace new technologies, and seize emerging opportunities in the digital and green economy. We are currently implementing the Global Gateway Regional Private Sector Development Program 3, funded by the European Union, which aims to strengthen private sector competitiveness, diversify exports, and build resilience across the Caribbean. A key focus is on supporting the SMEs, particularly women and youth-led enterprises, ensuring inclusivity and equitable access to opportunities. Finally, under the EU CARIFORUM Economic Partnership Agreement, Caribbean Export works to enhance trade and investment between the Caribbean and the EU, supporting sustainable, innovative, and globally connected private sector. So, about the Bridge Grant Program. The Bridge program is one of Caribbean Export's latest EU-funded grant mechanisms. It was designed to help firms across the CARIFORUM region and Cuba embrace digital transformation and green innovation, two areas that are essential to the region's competitiveness and sustainability. The program is transformative because it does not just provide funding, it supports businesses in modernizing operations, improving efficiency, and adopting sustainable practices that help them grow long-term. Bridge focuses on several key areas: supporting digital transformation, such as the adoption of new technologies or systems that increase productivity, advancing green innovation like renewable energy solutions and its energy efficiency upgrades or circular economy initiatives, promoting resilience and inclusion by encouraging projects that generate jobs and empower women and youth entrepreneurs, and by providing direct financial support through matching grants, while also offering capacity building support to ensure sustainability and proper implementation. Ultimately, the goal is to position our Caribbean firms to become more competitive, not only within the region, but also internationally, and to make them more attractive to investors. The Bridge program, which is designed to help Caribbean firms become more resilient, competitive, and future ready. Through the Bridge grants, Caribbean Export supports businesses undertaking both green and digital transformation projects to strengthen their long-term sustainability and growth. The program promotes green transition initiatives, which I have just mentioned, such as renewable energy adoption, sustainable agriculture, circular economy models, and other environmentally responsible technologies. It also supports digital transformation projects, including process automation, cybersecurity, digital project development, and supply chain digitization, helping firms to operate more efficiently and access new markets. Importantly, Bridge operates on a co-financing model where the European Union contributes up to 60% of the project cost, and firms provide the other 40%. This structure promotes sustainability, accountability, and shared ownership. Overall, the program aims to drive innovation, inclusivity, and competitiveness while positioning the Caribbean MSMEs for success in a digital and green economy. Today, the objectives of our session, by the end of this session, you should understand the Bridge program and its importance, learn about digital and green grant streams in detail, identify eligibility requirements and restrictions, know how funds are dispersed and how projects are evaluated, be aware of the deadlines and application process, and lastly, understand the next steps to prepare for your application. So on our agenda today, you just learned about the Bridge program, and our technical officers will delve into, more information about the digital and green grants and the eligible project areas. We're going to look at eligibility and ineligible costs, funding and disbursement, evaluation and selection. We're also going to look at the application process and deadlines. And that would be the end of our webinar today. So why Bridge? Caribbean MSMEs continue to face some key challenges, such as limited access to finance, high energy costs, the need for greater digitalization, and disruptions caused by the global supply chain shocks. These issues affect the ability of firms to remain competitive, efficient, and sustainable in today's economy. The Bridge program responds directly to these challenges by supporting projects that promote digital transformation and green innovation. It helps firms strengthen their resilience, improve productivity, and adapt to market changes while fostering inclusivity and new economic opportunities across the region. In short, Bridge is designed to close critical gaps and position MSMEs for sustainable growth in a digital and green future. Bridge was developed to strengthen the region's private sector by helping firms become more resilient, innovative, and investment ready. Through this initiative, Caribbean Export and the European Union aim to build resilient private sectors, drive innovation for sustainable growth, and position MSMEs to attract new investment opportunities. As its name suggests, Bridge serves as a connector linking today's MSMEs with tomorrow's markets, traditional business models with innovative solutions, and local firms with international investment prospects. It represents a pathway for Caribbean enterprises to move from potential to performance, fostering growth that is both inclusive and future-oriented. At this time, I will now invite my colleague, Mr. Jonathan Sitaram, to take you through the Digital Transformation Grant. Over to you, Jonathan.
All right, thank you all. Thanks a lot, Tanya. Thanks for everyone for being here today and joining us. So the Digital Transformation Grant under the overarching Bridge program. What purpose is this grant? So we're talking about here to modernize operations with digital solutions. And to delve into that a bit deeper, specifically, this particular grant is designed to catalyze the digital transformation process of Caribbean MSMEs. And how do we do that? By providing that targeted financial support for projects that enable Caribbean businesses to adopt and integrate new digital tools and technologies, upgrade their digital infrastructure and systems, and strengthen their overall digital strategies. In terms of some key project features or key features of the grant, projects have to be between 80 to 100,000 euros, and the grant itself will cover up to 50,000 euros, which, depending on the project size, will be equal to or less than 60% of the overall project. And it must be implemented within a 12-month period. So really and truly, we're looking at supporting Caribbean MSMEs to catalyze digital transformation by this targeted financial support. I'd like to briefly touch on the eligible project areas. However, before I do so, I want to essentially make note of one important thing, which is that projects should not be just be a collection of standalone activities, random digital activities, but rather the essence of the digital transformation grant. We would like these activities to form part of a coherent, well-structured digital transformation strategy that has clear defined objectives, such as enhancing your competitiveness, possibly getting you export ready, and to achieve overall long-term growth and sustainability for your business using digital tools and technologies. Yeah. I would also like to mention that under this particular grant, applicants are not necessarily limited to a single eligible area, but the projects may incorporate multiple activities across the various categories that we will talk about. Again, however, they must fall within a very structured and coherent digital transformation roadmap or strategy. Yeah. So in terms of the eligible project areas, and on the screen here, you would see certainly not a non-exhaustive list, I would say. So the first one that we have is business process digitization. So what exactly does that speak to? Well, essentially, it speaks to projects that enhance the operational efficiency and competitiveness of firms through the adoption of integrated digital solutions or systems. Fundamentally, you're looking at things like CRMs, for example, or ERP systems. Those digital tools and technologies that will take traditionally manual processes, internal processes, and digitize these things to create more streamlined and efficient workflows and work processes. Yeah. Secondly, we're looking at cybersecurity and data protection. Projects that fall within this category should aim to build resilience, compliance, trust, to ensure that digital transformation initiatives meet international standards for data security, data management. Examples of these would include things like investment in cybersecurity tools, training staff in data protection and cyber resilience, and adoption of things like GDPR compliant data management systems. We will also touch on mobile and digital product development. Uh, these would be examples of these would be development of mobile applications to support service delivery, customer engagement, sales, development of innovative digital assets. We also have digital trade and supply chain integration, where we talk about leveraging new technologies to improve trade facilitation, market access, and integration into regional and global value chains. So these will pique the interest, I am sure, in amongst the exporters here today. So examples of these would be new and innovative digital technologies to support supply chain management. So things like the use of blockchain in trade facilitation. We are seeing a rise globally in the use of smart contracts, for example. So these are just some examples. We also have capacity building and digital skills, where we talk about strengthening our human capital and institutional frameworks to sustain that digital transformation. As I mentioned before, all these projects must come from a coherent digital transformation strategy that has some form of long-term growth and sustainability built into it. So capacity building in digital skills is really, really important and necessary when undertaking any sort of ICT adoption. Further to this, our digital transformation grant employs something called, or uses something called the digital maturity checkup tool to really give participants and applicants a sense of where their current digital maturity lies. When we talk about digital maturity, we're really talking about how digital tools and technologies are integrated, or how deeply integrated digital tools and technologies are in your business across various dimensions. So our tool as it is now looks at 6 dimensions of digital maturity: process, digital technologies, communications and sales channel, organization and people, strategy and digital transformation, data and analytics. And you would find that the 6th dimension of digital maturity kind of reflects the eligible areas that we also have. So it assesses your current level of digital maturity across these dimensions. And what it also does, it gives you a sense of where you are right now by giving you a report that details where your challenges are, and what recommendations can be made. And this would no doubt form part of that digital transformation strategy that we've been talking about, that projects will be built out from. The digital maturity checkup tool in and of itself, actually, it puts you into various categories based on your digital maturity score. So from starter, beginner, proficient to advanced, across all these 6 dimensions, you'll know where you stand in terms of how digitally mature your firm is across these processes. For example, in some cases, MSMEs may have very strong digital processes, but they may have gaps when it comes to communications and sales channels, for example. So it really assesses across all 6 dimensions where you're at between starter to advanced. It gives you that sort of preliminary gap analysis, essentially, and it forms the basis of a roadmap to implement digital transformation activities within your organization. So as we have here, feel free to scan the QR code and take the digital maturity checkup tool survey, download your report. So it will give you a sense of where you are at now digitally and create or start to create that pathway forward for your digital transformation strategy. I would now like to pass it on to Natasha, who will speak a bit on the green grants.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Not sure where everybody's joining us from, but it really is our pleasure to welcome you and to host you for this second webinar. So as Tonya and Jonathan would have mentioned earlier, so my role is simple today, is just to give you an idea of the green transition grants that we will be administering. So when I speak of green transition, there is a collective understanding of what that means, right? And it refers to a process of shifting the economic model away from fossil fuels and resource intensive practices to one that is environmentally sustainable, low carbon, and circular. And in a few minutes, I will go through what these look like. But of course, I don't have to remind you, most of us from CARIFORUM, we're island economies, small economies. And so our vulnerabilities, whether it's climate or otherwise, it's very clear. So for the EU, obviously, Tonya would have mentioned that this forms part of the EU-funded donor program, Regional Private Sector Development Program. And so this grant sits within that, and the green transition is one of the key priorities, naturally, for us in CARIFORUM. It is also one of our key priorities to encourage our businesses to become resilient, to become sustainable, and to become, more efficient in how we do things. So under this grant, I will try to contrast and where possible, contrast and compare with the digital grant so that you would appreciate it a bit more. So whereas in the digital grant, you had a maximum project size or cost, I should say, recognizing that green grants tend to be a lot more intensive, larger in scope, there is no minimum or maximum per se in terms of the project size. What, however, is important for you to note is that the funding that Caribbean Export through the support of the EU, what we will provide is financing up to 100,000 euros, which is equal to or just about 60%. So you as a firm, you will need to come in with the extra 40% of that financing. In terms of duration, you as the SME will have up to 15 months to implement that project. So from the minute you sign your contract, and Tonya will go through that in terms of the timelines in a little more detail, but from when you sign the contract to the implementation, essentially the day after implementation starts, and you have 15 months by which to implement the project. Unfortunately, no deadlines will be considered. No extension, sorry, will be considered. And so when we talk about green transition, I'm just going to walk through a list of indicative examples. By no means is this exhaustive. This is just to give you an idea of the types of projects when we speak about green transition. So you have energy transition projects, and we're looking at those that consider solar, wind, hydro, or biomass installations, projects that consider energy efficiency. And in fact, what I should have mentioned from before, one of the very important considerations is this issue, or what we call the principle of do no significant harm. And so all the projects, we will assess and apply that criteria to ensure that you're not doing any more harm with the project that you're seeking to implement. Similar to Jonathan's green digital projects, the other thing that we would want to see is a coherent project. So while you may have individual, you want to do something on energy or resource efficiency, etc., it has to be coherent and to see the big picture that it is indeed impactful, sustainable, and will lead to resilience. So for some, it might sound like 100,000 euro is a lot, and you may want to just submit a hodgepodge of individual projects to qualify for that 100K. But one thing that we will have to consider is that coherence in the project and its approach. So I thought I would mention that before I go forward. So energy transition, we've already looked at this. Other areas around the blue economy, that includes fishing, aquaculture practices, eco-friendly coastal and marine systems, under digital and green transformation. And again, we see that within the digital and green, there is some sort of overlap. You could include digital programs or systems to enable green practices. And so we're looking at systems that track emissions, technology solutions for waste management, circular economy, and other digital improvements for some processes. There's also a very fun, well, maybe not so much fun, but an interesting area called frugal or nature-based innovation. And here we were talking about regenerative agriculture, soil improvement, sustainable agriculture, and agroforestry. Under the area of circular economy, we're looking at waste, waste to energy, industrial symbiosis projects, biodegradable materials, repair, refurbishing, recycling initiatives, and finally, sustainable agriculture. And these areas include organic farming, voluntary sustainable standards, precision farming using data and technology, and essentially practices that improve the ecosystem and health of the soil. And so this, in a nutshell, is the areas, these are the areas that we are looking at. And as I said, it is just to give you an example of the areas, but what we really encourage is that you provide us a very smart project that is coherent and that is really seeking to assist whether your business, but naturally the country that you're coming from or the region in terms of meeting some green principles. So I'll stop here, Tonya, and hand over back to you. You're muted.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues, for taking us through the projects that we expect. You did a fantastic job of, really going through the project and the eligible project areas. I just want to go back over, Natasha just went through a trade, did some sort of comparison between the digital and green. So this slide basically looks at that. A point to note here is that, yes, the digital transformation grant, there is a ceiling and a floor. So we are looking for these projects to be between 80,000 euro to 100,000 euro. The max that we have here is 50,000 euro for the digital grants. So essentially our contribution, the EU contribution, would be less than or equal to 60% of the overall project. And this will be dependent on the total project cost and the duration is 12 months. Now for the green project, the green transition grant, well, we have flexible project size. A point to note is that the EU contribution max is 100K. However, in this situation, for you to be able to access the 100K, your overall project cost must be at least, let's say, approximately 160,000 euros. So just bear that in mind when you're planning that if you want to access the 100K, the project needs to be approximately 160 or more to be able to tap into the 100K, right? So next, we're going to have a look at the eligibility. And as you can see here, across the two programs, the eligibility is the same. You must be a firm, legally registered, and operating in a CARIFORUM member state or Cuba. And we just went through the CARIFORUM member states, which are CARICOM and the Dominican Republic. Operational for at least 2 years with financial statements audited are certified. So yes, we are asking for the last 2 years financial statements, and they must be audited or certified by a qualified accountant. Must have a minimum of 1 year as a going concern, must have a company commercial bank account, engage in exporting or demonstrate credible potential to export. And on the side of the digital transformation grant, what makes it different here is that you would have to complete the digital checkup tool, which Jonathan just walked you through, right? In terms of who is not eligible for the grants now, NGOs are ineligible, schools, business support organizations, and investment promotion agencies, right? So the grant is primarily focused on supporting the regional MSMEs. We're now going to look at the ineligible costs. Now, before I go through this cost, this is just some of the costs that I wanted to highlight. Now, we would have, if you go on our website, we would have uploaded all of the documents that you would need to apply for the grant, and that would provide you with all of the information you need. So if you go on our website at carib-export.com, you can go ahead and download your package, whether it be digital transformation or green transition. And within the package, we have the general guidelines. In the guideline document, it would detail the entire guideline for the grant, including all the information on the funding areas and all the rules surrounding the grant. It also have the disbursement and procurement procedures, where you can have an in-depth look at how the grant will be dispersed throughout the implementation period. And most importantly, the guidelines that I just mentioned, at the end of the guidelines, we also provided you with the evaluation criteria. So you can actually see the criteria that the evaluators will use in evaluating your proposal. So we have been getting a lot of questions in terms of what's eligible and what's not eligible. So I want to take this time out to say this. As long as you can tick all the boxes on the eligibility criteria that I just went through, essentially you are eligible to apply for the grant. In terms of the projects, we would recommend you to have a look at the evaluation grid to see what, how you will be evaluated, and you can make that determination there if the project that you have in mind, would be a project along the lines of the project that we want. In terms of, so when you see, we have it is very, very, very detailed. So you can go in and see the information that we are asking for, and then you'll be able to make the determination if the project that you have in mind is strong enough, and if you want to go ahead and submit. But we do encourage you to go ahead and submit your projects to us. So we're just going to jump into the ineligible costs. I just wanted to put that up front. So not funding salaries and overheads will not be funded. So we'll not be funding your everyday operational costs. If you already have staff currently working for you, they can't be funded under the project. We won't fund travel, vehicles, land, buildings. VAT is ineligible as well. Duties and taxes, well, you will have to pay the taxes on the invoices. Only the VAT exclusive price can be charged to the grant. All duties and taxes would have to come from your contribution to the project. No loan repayments and contributions in kind are also ineligible. So the 40% contribution must be a cash-based contribution and not an in-kind contribution. Funding and disbursement. So we went through, that is a co-financing grant. We would have touched on that. The EU covers part and the firms covers the rest. In terms of funding and disbursement, the grant will be dispersed into 3 tranches. Tranche 1 will be 40%, Tranche 2 will be another 40%, and tranche 3 will be reimbursement. So for the digital grants, you'll have 12 months to implement the project. In terms of the implementation period, we are expecting for all projects to begin in January 2026, which would essentially mean that all awardees will be notified in December, contracts sent for signature in December, so that we can begin implementation on all projects in January. Here you will see that the last tranche will be reimbursable tranche, and this is to ensure that the projects are essentially completed. In the past, we have done the direct assistance grants where we did it as a reimbursable. During COVID and post-COVID, we would have done our direct support grants, which we gave the money upfront. So now, we are looking more at farming partnerships with you. And yeah, so you can have all of this information can be found in the disbursements and procurement procedures. We have detailed information on the tranches and the supporting documentation requirement for each tranche. Now we're going to have a look at the evaluation. So we have a 3-step evaluation process. The first step would be when you send in your application, we will undergo an eligibility check to make sure that you take all of those boxes by the eligibility criteria. The second step would be an internal evaluation and shortlisting. Now, once you make it past our eligibility check, you'll make it to the evaluation, which will be done internally by the Caribbean Export technical officers. And we will go ahead and do the first review and shortlisting. And the final step, the shortlisted applicants will be evaluated by external experts that specialize in these areas. Now, in terms of the evaluation criteria, the grid is broken down into financial capacity, relevance, feasibility, sustainability, and the budget. And as you can see here, relevance is 40, which essentially is the biggest part, or carries the heaviest weight across these 5 areas. So again, this evaluation criteria can be found in the guidelines. So the grid would differ across the green and the digital. So you can go ahead and download both and have a look to see how you would be evaluated. So looking at the application journey, all forms should be downloaded from our website, which is here on the screen, www.carib-export.com. You must complete and sign the application, gather all the required documents, and submit to us at grants@carib-export.com. And here in bold, you can see the deadline is November the 9th, 11:59 p.m. AST. So please make a note of the deadline and try to not wait till 11:58 p.m. on the 9th to try to submit your application to us. So this is some details on the submission. We just went through the email. The subject line should indicate which grant facility, as well as the name of your company. Completed, signed, and dated form with the required PDF. So you PDF everything. I think the only Excel documents that should be submitted or that could be submitted in Excel would be the action plan template, as well as the budget. Because once awarded, we might have to make some adjustments to the budget in terms of your contribution versus ours. If the files are too large, you can also send them by WeTransfer. But if you're sending a WeTransfer, you can also send an email to the team at grants@carib-export.com to just let us know that you would have sent us a file so that we can confirm receipt. So the required documents are notarized registration, our certificate of incorporation, certified bank statements, which should be certified by your bank, financial statements for the last 2 years. If you're applying for the digital, do not forget to go and sign up and complete your digital checkup tool. Completed budget and action plan templates. We also require the CVs of the project team. And lastly, if you are doing co-financing, where as for your 40% contribution, you're bringing on a partner, or investor, or someone else to help you with the 40%, we'll need the commitment letter, the proof of funds, etc., etc. And we will acknowledge it as long as we received it. We are very, very responsive, and the team, try their best to respond to you within 24 to 48 hours. We are having a lot of, emails coming in, so we have been working around the clock to try to respond to you in a timely fashion. So in terms of next steps, go to the website, download the information, review the eligibility, and start preparing your documents that you can apply before November the 9th, 2025. So we have came to the end of today's webinar. Thank you so much for taking the time to, to really sit with us to get a better understanding of the grant. I know the team has been in the chat, really working to try to answer as many questions as they can as you pose the questions in the chat. While we have came to the end of the webinar, we'll stay live for the next 15 minutes or so that we can attempt to address all the questions that came to us. However, as I said in the beginning, if we are unable to do so, and you have read the FAQs, you don't see an answer to your question, or it was not answered previously in the chat when we responded to someone else, you can feel free to send an email to the team and we will address your question, right? I also wanted to say that over the next couple of weeks, we will be having some in-country workshops. So you can go to our website and check our events page to see what is happening or if anything is happening in your country. I believe tomorrow we have an event, a sensitization event in Trinidad. You can check out our page for the details on that. And on Monday at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Conference Center in Barbados, we do have a access to finance session where we will go into the grants, the bridge grants as well. And we'll be doing that in partnership with the Small Business Association. So yeah, I just want to encourage you to go to the website and check. Oh yeah, then we also have an event, Access to Finance and the Bridge Grants as well, will be hosted in St. Lucia on the 27th of this month. Yeah, so go subscribe to our mailing list if you have not already subscribed, so that you can keep abreast of all of our upcoming opportunities. So thank you all once again, and I wish you a productive rest of the day. Remember, our team will be online for the next 15 minutes to just address any questions that you might have. Thank you very much, and we look forward to receiving your applications.